So my AI aha this week, I'm going to tell you about using AI with somebody who hasn't used it. I don't know, I sort of feel like it's the only way to convince some people is to show them. So I was with a dear friend who I adore, who is on the faculty at a T14 law school. And she had just finished writing what seems like a really important paper about eviction law and how it's different across different states. And there's some pretty interesting differences. And she was telling me about it, and she had a bunch of students working on it with her, and it definitely is an important contribution. And while she was telling me about it, I had my laptop open because we had been doing some internet shopping before that. And I had DeepResearch up, and I started asking DeepResearch the question that she and her students had worked on. And DeepResearch, of course, asked me some follow-up questions. I asked my friend those follow-up questions and answered them to DeepResearch. And then 20 minutes later, I showed my friend what DeepResearch did with her research project. And she was basically stunned, like started calling out to her partner and like couldn't believe what she had seen. And it's an AI aha moment because it's a reminder to me that sometimes, and I know you have some of your friends who basically have broken up with you because of how much you talk about it.
Yeah.
But talking about it, I think, is losing it. It's not nearly as effective as showing somebody something that they themselves spend time on and what it can do. And so I don't, for some people, just like pulling it up and getting a subscription is just a barrier that they're not going to cross, and so showing them can make a difference. So I don't know if you've had that experience lately, but it was pretty amazing, her reaction.
Yeah, I mean, DeepResearch, I know we've talked about it before, but especially if you're an academic,
Yeah.
I mean, this is just 20 research assistants on a silver platter for you to look up anything you're curious about and then help you shape some research around it.
Yeah, just at the start of a project as an academic, I don't know like how you could do without it. Like once you see what it does, I don't think you start another research project without like brainstorming with DeepResearch at the front end.
Totally. And to the point of my friends who are no longer my friends because I talk about AI so much, when I think I texted you maybe when I got DeepResearch, that was my moment when I was sort of like, you know what, I'm off the persuasion.
Oh, that was when you decided you're like, I'm not doing that anymore.
I don't need, no, I'm going to use this as a cheat code to
get ahead in the world.
Leaps and bounds ahead while people are still like, I'm not signing up for this subscription.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hopefully get my friends back and also just be like putting out amazing research papers, I assume now.
Yeah.
It's not something I ever did before. So that's
well, it's about
exciting.
time.
It is.
You are kind of lazy.
I have heard this from my friends. Yeah. But my AI aha is also helping somebody else see this. And as you know, I used to work for city government. And I have a lot of friends who still work for government and public interest organizations. And actually, this came up on the Ezra Klein podcast that came out like a few weeks ago with the top Biden AI advisor.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, like the interview was basically, why aren't we paying more attention to what's happening in the world of work and learning and doing something about it? And during the interview, Ezra Klein said, well, did you ever think about dropping these questions into Claude?
Yeah.
And the guy, and I don't know his name, forgive me, but he said, well, we didn't at the government have access to Claude.
Yeah. And Ezra Klein was like, well, that says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. He said, I think that's kind of damning, don't you? I think that's like exactly how he said it. And I remember being in government and not being able to have access to things and like everything was firewalled off. And yet I think there are so many applications in public service for these technologies. Yeah. So I was talking with a friend who was trying to roll out like a new initiative and all the things that go along with it, preparing a press release, preparing for a press conference, thinking through the objections that the public might have about this and helping you both think through it and also respond to them. And he was just sort of like, I just don't have the time to do this. I know that it would help people, but I said, let me introduce you to my friend Claude.
Yeah. He'll help you.
He'll help you. And you could go enjoy your day. I said, ask Claude to help you draft a press release and give it a little bit of context, but you don't need to give it much. And he told Claude about the initiative he wanted to start and why it would help people and, what the goals were. And of course, for him, the first time, for me, the millionth time, Claude just perfectly drafts this press release. And he was just amazed because it had drawn from the web, I guess. Yeah. Maybe we did it in ChatGPT too, because it would have been connected to the web. But it had brought in things that the city had done before.
Wow.
That were tied to like mayoral priorities, like all of these things that a very nuanced writer in a press room would do. And then I said, ask it to draft you talking points, like for a news conference. Did it? I said, ask it to take the position of a cranky reporter that does not like what you're doing. Did it? I said, ask it to draft it in 8th grade reading level equivalent. Did it? And then I said, well, you want to get the word out, so create a social media calendar with different ideas for different platforms and have it roll over a 30-day period. Did the whole thing. It was so much fun to watch his face, just
see it work. Yeah.
See it work.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It's fun when you have people that are not so skeptical, but just
having they're busy or their day job doesn't allow them to do it, so they're just not doing it yet. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah,
so that was fun. And it's like you start seeing the wheels turning of like, oh, I could do so much more for so many different people. And we've talked about this maybe in our last episode, that a lot of times people who work in the public interest have an idea that you're going to like let AI loose on the most vulnerable, like the highest stakes situations. Because I think there's a lot of fear and headline grabbing stuff about it. But there's so many sort of lower stakes, time consuming things that you can get done.
Yeah.
So that was my AI aha.
There was a story going around Blue Sky this weekend about some academic who was sitting next to a student on a plane, a long flight. And the student was feeding a research assignment into I don't know if it was ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, to get to have it, help or produce a first draft of the answer to the research assignment. And then the student spent the rest of the time putting it through some tool, which I haven't experimented with, I didn't even know about it, that strips it of any, AI signals, so that it can pass any AI, screen that a faculty member might have. And the student was like working over and over again, like putting it through and making changes and putting it through, and finally got to the point where it passed the AI fraud screening test. And this faculty member was like sort of critical, like can you believe the student spent all this time like figuring out how to like cheat her way through this assignment? And I was like, or is she like really prepared for like the jobs of the future, because she's like figuring out how to use like the technology forward and back and like sideways. And also, by the way, we should tell her that you could build a bot pretty easily to like do what you just did, like, and she could have been watching Netflix.
Totally.
But she could have been watching Severance and figuring it out.
And then helping ChatGPT understand it. She could be serving us in so many ways.
Right. But I was like, no, she's actually just preparing for the future. She'll be fine.
Well, Hard Fork, great podcast. They had on a sophomore from Columbia who is applying to be a programmer, right?
Yeah.
Engineer.
Well, he was.
He was. He's got a whole new
now
game
he's an entrepreneur. Yeah.
He's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But he was applying to all these major tech companies, Amazon, Google, Meta, all the big ones. And I guess in that field, there's an assessment test that you go through where you're logged into a platform and there's somebody watching you on video to make sure you're not cheating. And you like are tasked with solving these different problems.
Yeah, coding problems, I think, right? Like, yeah.
And he would concede readily that he developed a technology to cheat on the exam where it basically uses generative AI to do the task. Yeah. And also it sort of tells you the answer in a way that doesn't make your eyes move.
Yeah.
So you can fool the person watching you into thinking that you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I can't remember how, like, did he just share this openly? He tried to sell it, right? So he was not hiding it.
He did it. He used it himself and then offered it to other people, like, other students applying for these jobs, and had like a lot of take up. I mean, he himself then, like, once everyone figured out he was doing it, his offers were rescinded, although he's since then had every single company call him and offer him a job, because of course they should. But he's got like all these, I mean, his point was it's a stupid test. And so a stupid test sometimes needs a stupid shortcut. I think that sums up his pitch, right? That it's just like, it's no longer like a relevant way to figure out if somebody's going to be, add value to your tech company, this like, anachronistic test, which sounds a little familiar, doesn't it?
A little bit. I might have been thinking of some similar assessments in our own industry as I was listening to that.
Yeah, totally. But he was fascinating. He was like, they were like, what does your mom think? He's like, she just found out a week ago.
She probably would have told me not to do it.
She would have told me not to do it.
My favorite line from the whole interview was when they asked him like how he's feeling now. And he said, like, my company just made $200,000 last month and we're on track to make $2 million. And Casey Newton said, that's about 1 year's tuition at Columbia. Anyway, so you're better off. I know. And it just sort of, I don't think, I'm going to say for a fact, like, it's like, I don't know it's a fact, but I know it's true, that professors have no idea how much is taking place on the technology of the students in their classroom. And until this technology was available, we've all said different things are stupid and we shouldn't have to do them. They don't actually do what they say they're doing. But now there's a technology available that allows people to actually figure out how to cheat around it. Yeah. And this guy's just being really open about it. Yeah. But your plain example is, other people are not. And yeah, the world is changing though. And those people are developing skills that will set them apart in some way, like so far ahead.
Yeah. I mean, they're the ones that are going to be like running the companies in a few years. So yeah,
totally. Thank you for tuning in to 2030 Vision, AI and the Future of Law. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Stay informed and inspired as we continue to explore the AI-driven future of the legal profession. We'll see you next time.